Okay, I started off with my grandmother. Her name was Amy, Amy Mitchell, and she lived in the rural area of St. Francisville. Well, for some reason or another, the vigilantes, which was similar to the Ku Klux Klansmen, the vigilantes killed her husband. And in the struggle, she pulled the mask off one of the men's faces. So then she had to flee for her life. Well, there were always white people that didn't go along with slavery. So there was a family that took her and hid her. And after they left St. Francisville, they took her to a family in New Orleans that they knew, another white family, and she stayed with that family. But after a few months, it seemed like those people knew where she was. So they came to take her back to Bayou Sierra. That's what it was called. Uh, and I guess they could do whatever harm they wanted to do to her. So the people she was living with told her not to resist them, to go along with them. Excuse me. They were traveling by boats then. Well, before the boat left the landing, the family she was living with had the policeman to go and rescue her from these people. So she had heard that in Vacherie there were quite a few families from Bayou Sierra that were residing there. So she left New Orleans and she came to Vacherie. You remember where the new store was?
Which store?
New store. Well, one block off the Vash Road, going toward down the road, was a big general store. And there was a ramp, so the boat used to land at that ramp. And when she got off the boat to go to the Almo plantation where the people were living, the first person she met was a Reverend Jack Ellis. She didn't know he was the Reverend, but anyway, he made himself acquainted with her and he took her to the Almo where the people were living.
Okay.
And I guess she stayed there a while, and then later she met our grandfather. She met another man named George Johnson. Well, they got married, and she must have had 5 children. My mother, Tante Allie, Tante Eva, Uncle Andrew, and Uncle George.
What's your mom's name?
My mama's name was Mahalia. Okay. And they lived back where they were living in this area called Ozone. Well, Ozone doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, that's where they were living. And that's where they grew up. And then later on, I guess my mother met my daddy and they were married. But I lived long enough to remember my grandmother. It went out again. And she would come to visit us often.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we looked forward to her visit because whenever she came, she brought a basket of tea cookies. And we would wait for her to make that turn where we could see her.
Mm-hmm.
And then nothing could hold us. We were going to see Gama. And, well, she lived quite a while. And my mother used to say, my mother had 9 children.
Mm.
The other sister, the oldest sister, had 2 boys. The youngest sister had no children.
Mm.
So everybody helped my mother with her children.
Yeah.
And I guess this would need to be written down and I would remember all the little details. But anyway, uh, my mama said, she used to say her mama had liked Tanti Allie and Tanti Eva more than she liked her. But when she grew up, she found out that everything they gave to her mother, she gave a part of it to her.
Mm.
So I guess she loved her because she needed more, so she loved her more. So we lived at the Alma, and my daddy took care of us real well. We never knew what it was to want food or shelter or anything like that. Maybe we didn't have the luxuries of life,
Mm-hmm.
but my mama sewed, so we always had sufficient clothing. Because at one time they put rice and flour and stuff like that in percale sack.
And what kind of sack?
Percale. Percale was a form of cotton material, but it had nice designs in it.
Okay.
So they would use these sacks to make clothing. So
Okay.
we had nice clothing because they uh, put them in pretty sacks. You know, they wasn't anything. So you just wait till you get another sack like the one you had,
Mm-hmm.
and because you needed 2 sacks to make a dress
Right.
or a shirt or something like that. So when it was time to go to school, my brothers and them went to school in the church. They had school in the church. Uh, the same person that met my grandmother when she got off the boat, his younger brother was the teacher,
Okay.
and they taught in the church because there were no school buildings for blacks then.
Right.
So by the time I was ready to go to school, the societies, benevolent societies, had built its halls.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the Friends of Hope in Magnolia, the Silver Key on the Vash Road, the St. Joseph was also in Magnolia. And those societies allowed them to use their buildings for schools. So after Reverend Ellis, I guess the next teacher was the teacher that taught us, Mrs. Philomene Hebert. She taught us. And then later, there was one teacher for all the grades, grade 1 through 7.
Okay.
And when we first went to school, you had your ABCs. You had to know the ABCs and your numbers from 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was Perma. That was before first grade.
Okay.
And then for first grade was your second year in school. And then after they had about 5 or 6 months of school. Now the white children had school, and for a while they had transportation, but we understood that this was supposed to have been a private bus. Mr. Barker drove this bus. He owned the bus too, but they told us that they paid to ride the bus.
Mm.
I don't know whether that was true or not.
Right.
And we walked to school. And in the even grades, since they only had 5 to 6 months of school, in the even grades, we'd stay 2 years to make up the time.
Right.
So by the time I finished the 7th grade, I was 16. 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I was among the better students,
Right.
you know. But that's the way it was. But I like to say God kept us, and He wouldn't let go. And then when I started, after I went to New Orleans, there were no high schools in the country. I went to live in New Orleans, and some people in the Vacherie area came to Donaldsonville. There was a high school. If wherever you had family living, you live with some relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I went to New Orleans, and I finished high school in 4 years, and I finished in the top 10% of my class.
Who did you stay with there?
My mother's youngest sister,
Okay.
Tanti Eva.
Okay.
Her name was Evelyn, but everybody called her Eva. So I stayed in New Orleans, and after I finished high school, well, they couldn't send me to college, and I guess they weren't able to send me to college, period, because there was Xavier University and Gilbert Academy in the New Orleans area,
Mm-hmm.
but they weren't able to send me to school. So I worked at different little jobs. The first job I had was behind the soda counter in Levy's drugstore. That drugstore was on the corner of Tulane Avenue and South Claiborne Avenue.
We were just around there yesterday.
Yes, $6 a week in 2 meals. Because when I went in the morning, I had breakfast and lunch. And then when I went in the afternoon, we just had a meal in the afternoon. And I guess they counted all of that in your salary.
Mm.
And then from there, I must have gone to the Roosevelt Hotel.
Okay.
I worked at the Roosevelt Hotel. What did I do? I used to clean the bathrooms.
Okay.
And I was a messenger. Like somebody would send something to a room, I would take it.
Yeah.
hmm And,
I thought my mama told me you went to college somewhere.
I went to college.
Oh, when?
If I was in New Orleans, I went to Xavier the summers.
Okay.
If I was in Vacherie, I went to Southern University. But I really wanted to finish from Leland College, which was a Baptist college.
I know it.
So I had a lot of my credits from Leland. But Leland closed before I finished. I even went one summer to Grambling. That was a rough summer. School closed Friday, and Sunday they took me to Grambling. I stayed a month and came home for the weekend at the end of that month, and then I went back and stayed another month. That was the whole summer. When I came back from summer school, I had earned a semester of work, you know.
Yep.
But I came home like Thursday afternoon, and school was opening Tuesday. That was the summer I had, but I made it.
That was packed.
And in 1959, I graduated from Southern.
Okay.
And then after that, I went to the seminary, and I graduated from United Theological Seminary. But I kept working, all the time. And then on the end, when the doctor said I needed a rest, the school was going together. When they first started integration, they separated the girls and the boys.
I'm just gonna check this real quick. Oh, you good to go?
They separated the girls and the boys. And later on, they were going to go co-education. They were going to bring the boys and the girls together. Well, they had hired more teachers for this separation. So I guess they had more than they needed. And that was the year the doctor said I needed a rest. So they wouldn't give me the rest. Now, I could have gone back to work because I had over a year of accumulated days. But my husband told me no, vengeance belonged to God. So I took not the leave, I just retired. So that was the end of my school career. Well, in the meantime, I had gotten married in 43. and we still tried. But all in all, I made it. And now I've been retired 33 years.
How's that going?
That's going well. I'm waiting for the teachers to get a raise because every time the teachers get a raise, I get a few dollars raise.
And your retirement pay?
My retirement pay is about $1,200.
Okay.
And I started out with about 800 when I first retired. So all those little raises have, uh, but then being retired, I had less expenses than when I was working. Because even though I was living up here in Avon, and Vassar is 25 miles away, for quite a few years I either had to stay in Vassar before we had transportation, and I'd ride the bus Friday evening to come to Avon after we had moved up here. And Sunday evening I'd go back to Vassar.
Yeah.
And I stayed in Vassar the week. Well, it didn't cost me to stay in Vassar because I was living with my parents.
Right.
So, all in all, kept me, and here I am, age 93. Still know where I am.
Looking real good.
You know how good I'm looking, but feeling pretty good. I don't have a lot of pains. I've had some sick days, some serious sick days, but now, other than old age, I think I'm doing well, and I thank God for it every day and all through the day. Wake up in the night and say, thank you, Lord,
Yeah.
for keeping me. So,
All right. Thank you. So I'm gonna turn this off.